Well, I do, Buckaroos, how they go? I couldn't get the whole title and I had to shorten it. They only let you use so many characters, man. I tried to tell them that I was having the Public House 66 Pills Lager, but it wouldn't let me put it in, man. So this is Friday Beers with the Beer Whisperer, man. Oh, should have bricked. It's going to be like that, is it? Noble Hops, Route 66 Crisp Floral Adventure. They tell you use a footed Pilsner. Yeah, we'll call that a footed Pilsner. I guess you might be able to call them, that might be more of a, that's close to a stand Pilsner, but I'm going to call it a footed Pilsner for all intents and purposes. Say drink between 40 to 45 degrees. That's probably where I got her. Actually, I probably got her a little colder than that at the moment, but it might be about there since it took me a little bit to get this son of a gun rocket. How the heck are you? I am Done Beer Whisperer. Sometimes I like to do a Thursday video. In fact, I usually do, but I was really tired last night. It's been a long couple weeks of work. I put in a very long week last week, or the week before, and then I kind of evened it out this week. But it just been, I've been doing a lot of tastings lately, and I've just been kind of tired. And Thursday night is the TV that my wife and I like to watch. And there ain't dick on Friday night, so I love the summer shows. I love the return of fun TV. I get tired of... Now, I'm not saying some shows aren't well written, but I'm tired of watching dark television. I just don't dig it. I don't want to watch... I have enough, you know, real things going on in my life. I like television to be light. So I love that they brought back shows from my youth, like Battle of the Network Stars. That's been one of my favorite shows to watch. It's just been a lot of fun to watch. And then the you know, the new version of the Gong Show, I think is brilliant. And then the game shows, primetime game shows that they had on. They didn't do many episodes of it. They probably canceled it, but I really liked the Match Game revival. They had $100,000 Pyramid, and then Celebrity Family Feud. These shows are just fun. They're not cerebral. I got enough cerebral going on in my real life, so I like television to be fun. And it seems like every TV show these days, the trend has gone to being darker and darker and darker and darker. Now, I'm not saying they're not well written. I'm not saying they're not well acted. I'm just saying I don't want to watch them. That's all I'm saying, man. I'm not saying they're not good shows. I'm saying they're not what I want out of television. I get enough real life in my real life. I would like my television to be light and breezy. Now, I'm not saying I necessarily want it to be cheesy like the 60s and 70s. I like realism, but I don't need it to get darker, 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 darker as the seasons progress. And that seems to be what's going on these days. And that kind of chaps my ass. One show I'd really gotten to like was The Last Ship, you know, on TNT. But again, they did that trend, you know, started out a certain, it was relatively dark to start with, and it kept getting darker, 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 darker. But why it worked is that they had certain characters that brought some realism and some humor to it. You know, if it's just, everything is just depressing all the time, there's nothing to hold me to that show. But one of the characters, they had a particular character that I really liked, and then they killed the character off at the end of last season. Well, he was gone for most of the season before, and just came on for a few episodes near the end. But then the show was actually getting really freaking depressing, and it was kind of bugging me because it just seemed one-dimensional. And then they brought that character back, and all of a sudden it had that dimension again because he says things like a real person would say, you know. Well, somebody like me would say anyway, you know, that inappropriate humor at, you know, inappropriate times, and then, you know, right the last episode of last season they killed him off, and then, but then I've started watching the new season, and again, that's what they're missing. They're missing that character because otherwise the series is just too dark, and for me it doesn't work. But I will say that, I mean, that's where the trend is. I guess that's what most people want. They don't want the humor. I can't do without some kind of levity in the show. It just doesn't work for me, man. Anyway, I'm having this Pilsner. Probably should talk about it some. I've actually done a couple videos with this beer, so But Public House is one of those great little breweries that could, right? They started as a small kind of brew pub in Rolla, Missouri. They're now, I don't know if they're wholly owned by or if it's just a partnership with the St. James Winery there. But it has helped them to expand, and they've got the brewing facility, which I believe is where they do their bottling and canning. Or bottling, I don't guess they're canning yet, but bottling in St. James. But it's a beautiful location out there. I mean, it's not like they're owned by, you know, AB InBev. You know what I mean? They're owned by a relatively small Missouri winery, so it's still, you know, but it still allowed them to do other things. And a couple years ago, when I talked to one of the owners, or one of the, that started the brewer, I guess I should say. I don't know the ownership situation now, but he was telling me it gave him the ability to understand how to incorporate barrel aging, because they showed him how they blend wines, and he kind of used that to his knowledge of blending, you know, barrel aged beers. So anyway, even though the brewery kind of is out in the middle of nowhere, it is right on the highway, which is very interesting. Very interesting. Well, I got sidetracked. I didn't mean to say interesting, but it makes it easy to find. I mean, it's St. James, Missouri is I don't know, what's about an hour west of St. Louis, I suppose. Maybe a little more than that. It's I guess it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours from here. But again, we're right on 44, so I mean, and it's an easy on, easy off. So if you're traveling down 44 at any time, pop yourself off at St. James, because they've got good food there anyway. Go do the winery tour, then go to the brewery and have a few good beers and eat. So there you go. Stay out fine beer. This is a great Pilsner. It's a great American craft Pilsner. They've done it right with this one. Oh. Can't remember the hops I used. They told me. When I first had it, I mentioned that I really felt like there were saws in here. Then they sent me a message back that it did have saws, but there were some other noble hops in it. Now I can't remember what those hops were. But it's a perfectly put together beer. I will tell you that. It is done well. It is one of the better American craft Pilsners. A lot of breweries will tend to forego doing a Pilsner to do trendier styles. I don't know. I mean, there certainly is a school of thought that says the breweries that survive are the ones that do the trendy styles that cater to the millennium. I disagree. In fact, I couldn't disagree more emphatically. I think the breweries that are going to survive aren't the trendy breweries, because trendy breweries tend to lose a trend at some point. They start out great guns because they're right on the trend, but then they're unable to follow the trends. I mean, at some point you can't just do trendy beers. You have to have the ability to make actual beer styles. And for my money, I think it's the breweries that are able to do both that are going to survive. You have to be able to make beer. You know, breweries like Urban Chestnut, for instance, Four Hands, you have to be able to do solid beer styles. If you can't do that, it doesn't matter how good your trendy beers are, at some point you're going to fail. And yes, us old guys in the beer world, I know you guys, hey, you hate to hear about the old guy in the tap room. I've been drinking beer for 30 years. I know, this really bugs the shit out of you. But you know what bugs the shit out of me? Some kid that's been drinking beer for 3 years telling me about craft beer. Now, you don't know dick, Junior. Even some guy says, oh, I've been drinking beer for 9 years, I think I know. No, I don't think you do. I'm not sure you can find your ass from a hole in the ground from what you just said to me, but I'm glad you're confident. Anyway. Oh, but I digress. Oh, biscuits and gravy, man. Starting to cool down a little bit. Still a little warm here in the Ozarks, but we are starting to cool down. We haven't, I don't know whether at one point we're going to feel the effects of the storms, but we're certainly not going to get it like the folks that are getting it. I mean, Houston, Florida, I mean, wow. That's crazy out there, man. I hope all of you are safe. I've got friends in various places, so I hope you all are being safe. I'm going to burp here. Hold on. Oh, excuse me. Pilsner burp. Tastes like bread. A little bit of bread there, yeah. A little pepper. Got bread. I got some black pepper. Maybe a hint of sweetness, like somebody dropped just a drop of honey on some bread. Anyways, but I digress. I am done. Lately I've been hearing folks use some of the lines that I used in videos, 6 years ago. But someone said, "Oh, I digress." Well, hell, I've been saying that. Several years ago, when the cable guy was coming out, he would say, "That's funny, I don't care who you are." That's, well, hell, I've been saying that for 20 fucking years, man. Larry stole my shtick, man. That's why I don't care. I've been saying that since the 80s, gosh darn it. I am Tom the Beer Whisperer. I hope you're having a good Friday night. It's not quite Friday night here, I guess. Guess it's pre-evening, huh? About 6:30 here in the Ozarks, man. I'm just getting started. Oh, wowzer. I am Tom the Beer Whisperer, BeerVangelist. Prolific beer drinker, Purveyor of Wisdom, man. Ah, biscuits and gravy. That's a good beer. All around good guy.